We look at the escalating chaos in our world and assume we are dealing with bad policy, political corruption, or ordinary human incompetence. We are wrong. The most terrifying reality of our time is not what happens in the visible halls of power, but what is permitted in the unseen realm that governs them. When experienced exorcists speak about the spiritual reality of our culture, they do not speak in metaphors. They speak from the front lines of an active, brutal, and highly organized war. For decades, we have treated spiritual warfare like an ancient myth or a Hollywood script. We have modernized our theology, softened our preaching, and convinced ourselves that evil is simply a lack of education or a psychological defect. But the ancient enemy of human nature has not modernized. He has not changed his tactics. He has only changed his disguise. Today, we are witnessing an unprecedented explosion of diabolical activity, both on the macro level of our societal institutions and the micro level of our individual souls. Drawing upon the profound theological insights and experiences of seasoned exorcists, we are forced to confront a chilling reality. The spiritual vacuum of the modern world has become a playground for the demonic. This is not a message for the easily frightened. It is a sober, intellectual, and necessary look at how the demonic realm gains access to human lives, why some of our leaders seem entirely devoid of reason, and what happens when humanity casually invites the occult into its living rooms. This is about your soul, the state of your conscience, and the eternal consequences of the hidden choices you make every single day. If you have looked at the moral decay of our institutions and thought, this goes beyond human malice, this feels genuinely demonic, you are likely more accurate than you realize. The Catholic understanding of spiritual warfare reveals that demons operate within strict hierarchies. They are highly intelligent, angelic intellects that seek influence over territories, cultures, and individuals in positions of immense authority. When a society collectively abandons God, rejects natural law, and embraces objective moral evil, it does not simply become neutral, it becomes occupied. The psychological truth of our time is that we deceive ourselves into thinking evil is just a difference of political opinion. We try to rationalize the irrational. We attempt to debate ideologies that are, at their root, driven by a hatred for human life, purity, and truth. But you cannot reason with an intellect that is fundamentally opposed to God. When leaders promote the slaughter of the unborn, the mutilation of the innocent, and the inversion of truth, they are not merely making bad political calculations. They are cooperating with a diabolical agenda. In some cases, through persistent, unrepentant mortal sin and alignment with darkness, individuals in power may open themselves up to extraordinary diabolical influence or even possession. Stop looking for purely political solutions to profound spiritual crises. You cannot vote away a spiritual stronghold, and you cannot legislate away demons. We must begin to view our cultural battles through a supernatural lens, responding first with prayer, fasting, and intercession for those in authority. When a society abandons grace, the vacuum is never left empty. It is immediately occupied. But how does this level of darkness gain entry into a culture? It does not begin in the high courts or the Capitol buildings. It begins much closer to home. The most dangerous lie the modern world has swallowed is the idea that spirituality can be separated from authority. Today, we see an explosion of what is lightly dismissed as New Age practices. Tarot cards are sold in mainstream bookstores. People casually discuss manifesting, crystals, astrology, and energy healing. They view these things as harmless self-help tools or aesthetic trends. But the spiritual realm operates on a strict system of legal rights and permissions. The psychological trap here is profound. Human beings possess a deep natural hunger for the supernatural, but we are plagued by the prideful desire to control it. We want spiritual power, without submitting to a moral master. When you step outside the boundaries of divine revelation and the sacraments to seek hidden knowledge or power, you are essentially knocking on a door in the dark, and something will always answer. Exorcists consistently warn that dabbling in the occult, even out of mere curiosity or ignorance, grants legal permission to demonic entities. The devil does not care if you believe in him when you consult a psychic or attempt to communicate with spirits. He only cares that you have violated the first commandment and opened the door. You must aggressively purge your life, your habits, and your home of every trace of the occult. Burn the books, throw away the crystals, delete the astrology apps, and renounce any past involvement in these practices through the sacrament of confession. There is no such thing as innocent magic. Satan does not require your worship to claim your soul. He only requires your permission. And what happens when that permission is fully granted? What does it actually look like to confront this ancient enemy? There is a profound misconception about what happens in an exorcism. It is not a clash of two equal gods battling for supremacy. It is an exercise of divine authority over a rebellious creature. When exorcists speak of interacting with demons, or even speaking to Satan himself during the rite, they describe a terrifying but pathetic reality. Demons are creatures of pure, agonizing pride. They are legalistic, manipulative, and deeply invested in human despair. They possess intelligence that vastly exceeds our own, but they are utterly paralyzed by one thing: humility. We often harbor a quiet, psychological fear that the devil might somehow be stronger than God's grace in our lives. We elevate Satan in our minds, giving him an almost godlike status. But the church teaches that the devil is a dog on a leash. He can only strike where God permits, and God only permits it to bring about a greater sanctification of the soul. In the exorcism room, the demon is not defeated by the priest's personal holiness or charisma. The demon is crushed by the authority of Christ, delegated to his church, and enforced by the Blessed Virgin Mary, whose perfect humility shatters diabolical pride. Stop fearing the devil's power and start respecting his intelligence. Rely entirely on the authority of your state in life, the protection of the church, and the power of the sacraments. Do not engage in direct conversation with the enemy. Instead, direct your mind entirely to Christ. The devil is not the opposite of God. He is simply a rebellious creature, utterly terrified of a humble heart. This reality brings us to the most uncomfortable question of all. If this war is raging around us with such devastating consequences, where do you stand in it? It is incredibly easy to watch a video like this and point fingers at the possessed politicians, the corrupt elites, or the lost teenagers dabbling in witchcraft. It is easy to view spiritual warfare as a battle out there. But the enemy's most common and effective tactic is not extraordinary possession. It is ordinary temptation. We wring our hands over the state of the world while harboring unconfessed mortal sin in our own hearts. We gasp at the dirt while secretly holding on to pornography, unforgiveness, deep-seated pride, or habitual lying. Listen closely. If you are living in a state of unconfessed mortal sin, you are voluntarily living under the dominion of the enemy. You are stepping out from under the protective umbrella of God's grace and handing the enemy the legal right to torment your mind, disrupt your peace, and slowly destroy your life. The same demonic forces destroying nations are perfectly content to quietly destroy your soul in the comfort of your own bedroom. But the chains of the enemy are brittle, and they shatter at the slightest touch of true repentance. You do not need to be a theologian or an exorcist to defeat the demonic influence in your life. The path to deliverance is profoundly ordinary, which is exactly why the proud refuse it. It is found in the grinding daily discipline of holiness. It begins in the confessional, the most powerful room on earth. where the legal rights of the enemy are instantly annihilated by the blood of Christ. If you want to armor yourself, you must return to the sacramental life of the Church. Frequent confession, worthy reception of the Holy Eucharist, and the daily recitation of the Rosary are your weapons. Cultivate a devotion to the Blessed Mother, whose very name makes hell tremble. Practice strict custody of your eyes. Guard your mind against the filth of modern media, and root out the hidden compromises in your life. The battle lines have been drawn, and there is no neutral ground left. We are living in an era of profound spiritual consequence, an era that demands saints of heroic virtue and unshakable resolve. The demonic forces at work in our world are loud, aggressive, and terrifying, but they are also deeply desperate because they know their time is short. Christ has already won the victory. The only question remaining is whether you will humble yourself enough to stand under his banner. Do not wait for the culture to collapse before you decide to get your soul in order. The war is here. The King is calling. Prepare your soul, hold the line, and surrender nothing to the dark. If this message convicted you, do not let this moment pass. Take time today to examine your conscience and get to confession. If you value this kind of serious, uncompromising spiritual truth, hit the subscribe button and share this video with someone who needs a wake-up call. Leave a comment below with the area of your spiritual life where you need the most prayer to stand firm. May God bless you and protect you.